and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know whom to ask. I was so confused, right? That was the driving force, and that made me feel like, no, I'm sure there are people like me who are probably clueless. I stopped creating content, and that gap of easy 15-20 days came in, and from 25K, my following dropped to 17K. I've done a collaboration with Google.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I think building a personal brand is super, super essential. I feel like as a college student primarily,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another fantastic episode of the Lalith Dhanush show. Today I have with me a very exciting guest, a person who also shares a lot of professional interest with me. She helps people in their school and colleges build amazing, wonderful, successful careers. And today I have with me Miti Shah. How are you? And did I get your name right?
Yes, you did. You're one of the few people who actually got my pronunciation correct. Because the spelling is such that everyone thinks it's a different pronunciation, but it's Miti. So yes, hi guys, I'm super excited. I think it was such an impromptu thing. But both of us were so like, you know what, let's just do it.
I
so
swear.
I'm very excited.
I'm super excited as well, and I have a lot of questions to ask you.
Yes.
And I have my first question.
Yes.
When did you start making content considering the fact that you just graduated?
So for me, I think that was during peak lockdown. Actually, not peak lockdown, but during lockdown. Peak lockdown is when I think most people started creating content. April, May, June 2020. That was like the content creation phase. Everyone was creating content. I was so inspired. I was like, there are so many people doing such wonderful stuff, and I always wanted to do it myself because I've always felt like, yeah, I'm confident, I'm camera friendly, I can do it, But I never knew what niche to pick, and then slowly I did some research, I tried a lot of things, and I started officially creating content in October 2020.
Okay.
And so it's been almost 2 years now. In like 2-3 months it'll be 2 years. But I think what I started out as, like the way I used to create content, the type of content I create now is totally different.
What were you doing back then?
So back then, it's actually very funny. I was creating content. So, there are a lot of people nowadays who also create content around being an Instagram coach and, how it helps, how to use social media, which is so exciting and so nice. That's what I started off as. And I had like 200, 300 followers, and then someone just happened to tell me that, like you're doing some great stuff, but it's just that you don't have that following right now, right? So you really need to work on it, and you really need to personally build your expertise. Till then, why don't you start creating content around internships? They just told me randomly that you've done so many internships. Ek do reel bana do on internships. So I said, okay. And I just created one reel on how, an internship has helped me get a job, or how I got my first job at 19. And that went viral. And that's when I knew that, this is what people are liking. This is what I'm enjoying. So I think now I know where to sort of focus.
Now tell me, how did you start your internship journey? Was it because of college? How was your college situation like, and how did you get into it?
So my first internship was actually in my 11th and 12th grade, I think, HSC. For a lot of people, it's high school, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. So that's when my first internship was, and that's the one I found through Internshala. Very, very random, because it's difficult to find internships, So I found an internship through Internshala. It was not like a proper one, work from home, basic captions, this, that. That was a social media internship, my first ever internship. Yeah. So that was, it was like a 2-month experience, and that time I got a lot of exposure to Facebook ads, analytics, like basic things around that. It was very interesting to learn. And then after that, so like that internship got over, then I had my 12th standard boards, and after my boards got over, now I had to choose what course and career, what course I want to do, right? So I was like in and out, visiting counselors, researching on my own, going to people. So I went to this one counselor, and I told her, I love what you do. Like, I love how, you help people with education, or I love how you're researching and putting it together and stuff like that. And, my mom's like, okay, my mom was also there. So she's like, okay, can she intern under you, or can she like work with you? And that time the counselor told my mom that, my daughter and one of her colleagues is actually starting a very interesting program called Skill Lab. Okay, so Skill Lab, it's like a startup that helps students with social impact projects. It teaches you that and stuff like that. And it sort of inculcates those projects for you. So she's like that, I'm gonna give you an email ID. Just go home, make a resume. She explained to me, and that time, so yeah, I was so fresh. Resume also, like I didn't know properly how to do it. Nothing, very basic stuff. Like whatever I could find online, whatever references the counselor gave me, I used them. I made my resume and I emailed it. So then, the person who received it called me and she said, okay, can you come in for an interview? So I said, okay. So I went for an interview and they were like that, you're very young, but we want that. So I said, okay, cool, let's do it. So then that's how the internship started. Literally, so random. I think this is the power of personal networking, or this is the power of even asking.
True.
Putting it out there,
People are scared to ask.
They're so like, they're so shy. I don't want to ask. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Why? Ask.
And not just that, on a deeper level, it's because they feel they're belittling themselves in front of that other big person because they're asking. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people should also realize the counter-intuitive thought of the other person, which is, hey, listen, if I help him, I feel good about myself. Yeah. So their self-image also increases. So it's not like everybody is going to say no to you. There are certain characters.
There will be people who will say no, yeah.
Just take it and move.
Yeah, agreed, yeah. So that's how that internship started, and it was all about education, personal development, like skill building and stuff like that. And I was actually sort of, I wouldn't say directly mentoring, but I was helping, one of the founders in mentoring 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade kids.
Wow.
And I was in the 12th grade. I had just passed my 12th grade. So that's when my interest towards all of this came in. And I think that internship, my first proper first stipend and all I had got, that was my first solid internship.
What did you do with the money?
Started. I took my family outside. I posted this on my Instagram as well, a picture of a check, which says 15,000 for the 3-month internship. That feeling is amazing.
Right?
It is amazing. Nothing can beat it.
Even if you get paid 15 lakhs later on for an entire year, that freedom, right? That thought is amazing.
Yeah, and also because I think that was the time when a lot of my peers and my friends were all just chilling, because you've just got done with your boards, right? Each one to their own, you do you. So they were all watching movies and stuff like that, and that's when that time I was really working, and I used to go every day because it was it wasn't work from home, it was a normal office internship. So I used to go every day, and then getting that 15,000 is wow. This is my due. I've worked for this.
Every penny of it is mine.
Yeah.
I don't have to say anything to anybody.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, true. I know that feeling, man. In fact, I did the same. I think a lot of us, especially our generation, it's not just about taking our parents out because they're the closest ones to them.
Yeah.
But I think it's also we're trying to signal to them hey, we've arrived.
Yeah,
not snub it, but to tell them.
I'm trying, I'm doing it on my own, yeah.
And I think the way your parents perceive you from that moment on is so different, right?
Yeah.
They're my child's grown up.
Yeah.
Now they can take care of himself or herself. Yeah.
It is a great feeling.
What are some of the most important lessons you've learned during this journey of your internship? You did speak about your first one, and then you went on to say you've done multiple.
I've done, yeah.
Tell me some of the lessons you've learned with the situation in it.
I think there are two. I'd like to divide it into two categories. One is from an education perspective, I think I've realized that when people tell you that you have to try your hand out at everything and then select one thing, they're right. You have to do multiple internships.
Listen to this. Listen.
You can't do, you can't think that, or you can't be it's okay, I'll decide what I want to do in my life without experimenting with it. You can't do that, It's like this is something that I think everyone, our grandparents and parents, and it's been everyone knows this one staple advice, that if you really want to find what you're passionate about, you have to do trial and error. Right. You have to experiment. So I think that is one thing I learned, that I have to experiment.
Wow.
Secondly, I think through my internships, I really learned about networking, because I feel like I met so many amazing people, so many people who are doing so many things, so many people with different skills, that now whenever I need any help, I always go back and think that, okay, I connect with them, or, those type of things. So I think that is another thing that I learned. I think through my internships, I also sort of just learned about how to, work with people, teamwork, how to work on a more professional level. So, when I was, even when I started doing my job and stuff, even when it was work from home, I don't mean outfit wise or that corporate environment wise, but I knew how to do it. I knew that, how to like put my thoughts out there, how to put my ideas out there. So, I think that is one like educational side, but I think personal side, I just, obviously I made so many amazing connections. Like I said, there was so much of networking that happened. And also I saw so much of growth in myself and so much of, comfort. Like, I feel like, when you're 18, 19 and when you're doing these internships, that when you come back home from a long day, the sleep that you get at night is the best.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, see, when you're 18, 19, when you're doing an internship, you take it seriously. But not all, like, not like full, like, I feel like now at 21, 22, like, there's always some stress sometimes at the back of your head, right?
Yeah.
But at that time, you're doing it because you really want to do it. And then, you've had a long day and you come back home, you have dinner and you're just like, wow. Like, the sleep is so good,
And it comes from a place of satisfaction.
That's what I'm saying, that's satisfaction.
Deep, complete soul satisfaction.
Yeah.
It's not just like your body, mind and emotions, but your soul feels good, right?
Yeah, you feel good.
And that satisfaction comes out of self-worth.
Agreed.
You start sipping that first sip of coffee and you get that caffeine kick, right? I think that's how this also starts building, and it is required. And it's, I feel it's also like momentum, right? Like self-worth is a very momentum game. Like you feel good, you have to do something where you feel good again, to a point where if you feel bad, momentum is carrying you now.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel it's such an important thing. And I'm sure one of the things that's why I reacted that way when you said about internships, that it gives you the ability to fucking fail.
Yeah.
Right? Like imagine going to your job and getting your ass whooped and yelled at from a guy who you hate, man. You'd be probably waiting to beat him up outside. Right? But however, if you go to an internship, neither does the other party have something to lose, which is the company, nor do you have anything to lose. Like you don't have a goodwill or a reputation of 6 years where
exactly
to lose, right?
Exactly. I feel like, like the best part is that when you're doing an internship, you're really not that, important.
In fact, in all angles, you're not important.
Yeah,
you're bottom of the food chain.
Yeah, so you have that time and you have that space, and then again, so many people have this misconception that, I just have to get coffee. And mind you, there are companies which make interns do that, but I feel like you have to find the right companies.
Yeah.
You will.
And I think you will by only joining the wrong ones.
That's a very, very, very good thought.
Isn't it? Like, only if you go to put yourself into a shitty company, do you know, hey, dude, I don't want to be here. I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, this actually reminds me of the Shah Rukh Khan dialogue in Dear Zindagi. Have you watched it?
No.
Have you watched the movie? Okay, but he's with Alia Bhatt. And she's talking about like how she's been with so many people, like she's had so many relationships. And then he does this very interesting thing. He gets like 4 or 5 chairs, okay? And he's like that, when you go to a furniture store, don't you sit on every chair and see which one is the most comfortable, because some might look good, but they're not actually comfortable. Some you feel are comfortable when you go and sit, you're just like, no. That's like how it is with relationships. Till you don't try, you'll never know. And that's how it is with your career also. Till you don't try, everything looks very attractive on the outside and every job looks easier when you're not in those shoes.
100%.
Right? But then when you put yourself out there, you realize that, okay, yes, this is how it is.
But I think the disappointment also stops them at some point, because the fear of failure is very evident.
Yeah.
And it is even more in today's 18, 19-year-olds than when you and me were 3, 4, 5 years ago. Simply because I feel they want validation, right? They want to quickly feel everything. They think it's as good as getting a comment or a like on Facebook. It can't happen.
It can't.
It really can't. And you got to get your ass beat. You got to do the wrong things, meet the wrong people, toxic environment, only to realize what is good, what works, and then build it over there. Yeah.
And also, I think another factor is that, so when we were, like you said, doing our internships and stuff, we were very used to an understanding of like how to take feedback, how to like deal with criticism. I think that is something that becomes tough nowadays. Like when I see, like 16, 17-year-olds, like I'm just like, oh, like they don't have that willpower, which I'm sure they'll build on, but yeah.
Makes sense, man. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Dude, like one more thing that I really want to know is, as you have been making content for a lot of these school and college kids, why did you choose that category in specific? I mean, was there a driving point or a driving force for it?
There was. So, you remember I told you that when I started my first internship, I didn't know how to make a
Got it.
proper resume. I just looked at stuff on the internet and this and that and all. And I was like, yeah, I wish there was someone who could actually tell me, ki, do this, do that. Someone who could give me the right pathway, And when I started creating content and when that internship reel went viral, that's when I realized that, there are so many people out there who don't even know how to work with the basics. Like, okay, fine. Like, for example, if you're going for an internship, a lot of people out there will be like, dude, making a resume is the most basic thing.
Basic thing,
how can you not know it? But there are actually so many people who don't, because I've
don't.
been in that position once and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know whom to ask. I was so confused, right? That was the driving force, and that made me feel like, no, I'm sure there are people like me who are probably clueless, or there are people like me who just don't know how to make the best use of the resources available,
100%.
And that's how it started.
I agree, man, because at the end of the day, you can only solve somebody else's problem by solving your own.
Yours. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that knack comes through experience and understanding. And speaking of which, I want to know that in all these internship experiences, you'd have gained not just lessons but also very important skills.
Yes.
Can you tell me, for anybody who's going to college right now, let's say undergrad program or even their postgrad program, what according to you is possibly the most important skills? If you don't think there is one, then give me top 3.
So like that you gain while you go to an internship, right? Or just skills in general.
Skills in general, and it could also be something that you gained in an internship.
Okay. So I think first and very, very important is you really learn communication. You really learn communication, In fact, in one of my YouTube videos also that I've recently shot, I've said that communication, obviously, for a lot of people, I wouldn't say it's inborn, but it comes natural to them.
Naturally,
or maybe you can say it's inborn because they're extroverted, they're more out there, they're probably more confident. But it is a skill which you can only master with practice and by talking to others and by putting yourself out there.
100%.
So I think one skill is communication, super, super important. Second is Microsoft Excel. I think when you're starting out, it's so important. Like today, now when I have to when I'm, because I have my own thing, or when I'm making a basic content calendar for my content creation, I've never needed someone to explain that to me because I was so quick with Excel. I knew how to use it. ठीक है, ये ऐसा बना लो, let me make my this like that. So it's very, genuinely very useful. So I think communication, Microsoft Excel, I'm going to give you top 3. And I think third skill that I would definitely say is planning. I think when you do an internship, you learn, especially when you're in a I'd say startup environment, you learn a lot because you're not just fixed to one role. You're not just doing a marketing internship. You're not just doing a finance internship. That planning aspect, coordinating between departments, or picking up phone calls, connecting team members and stuff is very essential. Okay. So that's a great skill. And fourth, I'm just going to give you one more: research. As in, because a lot of times, a lot of interns definitely do have to do research work, because you sort of establish the groundwork which your team can work on, or your senior can obviously work with, right? So I think that research is super, super important.
And I think research in every aspect, right? Like in all aspects of life. Like you got to do research before you go ask a girl out. You got to do your research before you submit your assignment.
Yes.
You also got to do research before you go to a restaurant that you eat. You go check out the reviews. You also got to do research before you put out the content. So I mean, now it hits, right? Because I would have never honestly put research as my top 3 skills. So I was just trying to see, why did you say that? And now it makes sense. It does fucking make sense, dude. Like that's crazy. Now, man, you on an Outlook, Miti, I met you for the first time today. Today is the first time.
Yeah, literally, we met. We spoke and we said, let's shoot the podcast. Yeah.
Like from the outside, I feel you have amazing positive energy.
I get that a lot.
Like you're a bloody magnet come dynamite, which is amazing. Which also makes you very infectious, and you also seem like a very happy person, right? Like a super, super happy person, right? So I want to know, when was the time that you felt lowest in your life? Like, I'm sure there would have been moments.
Yeah.
Can you pick one that comes to to the top of your mind?
Yeah, of course. So I'll tell you. So basically, this was again content related to content creation. So I started creating content in October 2020. Within the first 3 months, I hit my 10K followers. And after that, like because I think two of my reels went viral. One of my reels went viral. It had like 3.4 million views. So from 10K, the number kept increasing. Okay. And now this was in Jan. Now we're talking in Jan 2021, Feb 2021. That's when I got very involved with like college activities and stuff. So I totally just, and that time I didn't know how to do time management and stuff that well,
Got it.
because I was also working, I was also doing my content creation, and I was also, I had these college activities, and you don't want to miss out on them, especially after like 1 year of online school,
And if
online
it's your
college.
last year of college as well.
Yeah. You want to do more of these. So I was like, okay, you know what? I have to do this. So I was doing it, and my followers, like, they were increasing, right? So it reached a point of like 21, 22K, from 10K to 21, 22K in like a matter of 15, 20 days, which is amazing growth. Yeah. But then, because I was so busy with other things, I just stopped. I stopped creating content. And that gap of easy 15, 20 days came in, and from 25K, my following dropped to 17K.
What? Really?
Yes.
Damn, dude.
So
Audience can be very brutal.
I have literally seen in followers in social media, I have seen that rise, and I've seen that.
You experienced both the bull market and the bear market.
And that's when I just started out. That's when I didn't even know people in social media. I didn't know who to share this with. I didn't have someone to come and tell me, listen, it's very normal. Because it's a very normal thing in social media. Even now, I lose followers so much, but at that time, I didn't. And the thing is, again, because I used to go to college every day, pehle it used to be like, oh, Miti, you're on 25K, 26K, 25K, 26K, and then suddenly, dude, what happened to your followers? How did you come to 21, 22K? And now, obviously, I laugh about it, but I think back then it was very hard for me to pull myself out of that phase.
Makes sense.
And to start creating content and to come back and be like, okay, you know what? I was disappearing for 15 days, or like, sorry, I had disappeared for 15 days, and like now I'm back and now I'm doing this again.
Yeah.
So it was very, very tough for me. Pulling myself out of it, and like I had totally stopped everything related to content creation. Like I just put that aside for those 15-20 days, and then coming back, and it was difficult, especially when you're outward. So many people come to you and they're like, oh dude, what happened? And you're like, it's difficult.
And especially if they're trying to if they're trying to hold you like accountable for your own misery, I can say, like hey, what happened? Yeah, and why did it happen? Like they genuinely don't care, but they just want to see you fail.
Yeah. And in general also, I think sometimes it just happens, like, I don't know, like normally, like they don't mean it in that way. Like,
makes sense.
So many times I've been sitting near a friend and they'll open my page, or they'll just like tell me, oh, I loved what you did in this reel that you had made and stuff. And then when you go back up, or when you refresh it, there's like a drop in like the following, so subconsciously it affects you a lot. So I think that's when I felt very like, oh, like it wasn't a good feeling.
Makes sense, man. Because again, at the end of the day, social media is a place where you can grow, but I think you should also be ready for the bad days.
Yeah.
Right? And I think a lot of that training comes in your initial months of social media, where you're putting so much effort but nothing's coming out of it.
Yeah.
I think that's where your character is built for the kill, and then
100%.
eventually you mature.
You learn. And also I feel like, again, that was a difficult stage for me because everything was coming together, right? After being at home for a good 6-7 months, suddenly I have to go out, I have to meet people, I have to also handle college, I have to also handle my internship stuff, I have to also handle my page. So everything came together. So I think those few months were very difficult. But then, I mean, just look at how it turned out. Literally after, I remember crying, and I was talking to a friend, and he just said that, okay, just give yourself this goal that by July, I'll have these many followers now, or by July, I'll at least be a little bit more like sorted or whatever. And I actually did end up achieving that goal. It did end up happening.
Damn,
yeah.
That's nice. And I think that's true power. And now you're getting back onto that self-esteem track of momentum, man.
Yes.
All of these things are add-ons to it. And today we spoke about resume in the start itself, where you said, people don't know how to make a resume. I still think it's okay if you don't know how to make a resume, if you have a damn good personal brand. Why do you need a resume? It's like you're trying to distribute pamphlets for the Oscars. You don't need pamphlets for the Oscars,
Yeah.
dude. It's the Oscars.
Yeah.
Right? So tell me a little bit about personal brand and your understanding about it and how it could actually change people's lives who are watching it right now.
It is, I think, one of the most powerful tools of not only, like, I think an internship is a very small aspect of,
Correct.
or a very small part of it, but like, you know, even when you want to start your own company, even when you want to meet people, even when you want to network, even when you want to get leads, even when you want to inquire about something or learn something new, your personal brand is so important. And there is no, like, there's no age. Like, you don't have to like have achieved something or have had something to build your personal brand.
Makes sense.
You can do it even when you're in school, college, because that building that personal brand in itself is something.
Mm-hmm. Makes
Right?
sense.
So I think building a personal brand is super, super essential. I feel like as a college student primarily, I think because you're more out there. See, sometimes kya hota hai, in school you're a little bit more shadowed or a little bit more, you know, you've not fully seen everything. But when you come to college or when you start working, when you're starting internships, you have, you know, that's when you can build a stronger personal brand. So I think building a personal brand, first of all, like you said, when you have a personal brand ready, nothing else matters.
Yeah. True.
Nothing else matters. Like, I know friends who have a very strong personal brand on Instagram, and they've literally got approached by companies without any resume, no nothing, just like, hey, you know what, we love the knowledge you have on this topic and we love how you're putting it out. Do you want to work with us? So obviously sometimes I think in some companies the formalities will be there ki haan theek hai resume bhej do and all of that, but your personal brand will always outshine
it.
I truly believe that.
Think about it, dude. Like, rather than sending your resume on a PDF, send them your YouTube link where you've interviewed Kunal Shah. Who the fuck? Like, you don't even need a job, first of all, if you're interviewing
Yeah.
Kunal Shah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And today, this is what I tell my goddamn students who want to go sit in a fucking placement cell for a job. I'm like, are you stupid? Like, you really have to be spoiled, privileged, or you must be in a very bad mental space to go get a job. I'll tell you why. Your parents come from a good financial background. Most of my students do come from very good financial background.
I think it really depends. Yeah.
Second, you have a phone. You have a fucking phone.
Yeah.
Which you cannot bloody complain of. Like, the phone is another world. There's a metaverse being built. It's another world by itself.
Yeah.
And third, dude, you are a dumb-wit, lazy bitch. Like, dude, you can't get your ass up. That's all. That's the problem. Because if you can go on LinkedIn, spend $500 on a Vibe of Sicily course, spend another $500 on getting a Blinkist or some other Booka app for, you know, on a subscription.
Yeah.
And then just watch a few YouTube videos, just sort it for life.
Yeah, none of this. Just go to YouTube, go to Instagram. There are so many people creating content around it. LinkedIn, go to LinkedIn itself, you know, and just type out stuff like how to build a personal brand. And you will have so many articles that come for free. You know, it's like all this free knowledge.
Absolutely. And if you can't do that, I think you should follow Miti and me.
Yeah, yes,
follow,
yes.
Follow.
Follow us. We have to do that.
Yeah, man. Oh, man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Miti, tell me, now you're what, 21, 22?
21, yes.
Shit. I like the confidence that you speak with at 21 because, you know, and that's what experience, self-esteem, good environment around you actually does.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that you're doing it.
Thank you.
I want to know, how are you going to take this and transition it later in your career? What do you see in the next 4-5 years as your potential growth places? What's your plan?
Okay. So I think first of all, 4-5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It is a long time. But I think if I had to look at the bigger picture, then I would just say that first of all, I want to keep creating content.
Nice.
You know, that is one thing that I want. I want to grow my community. I want to, you know, like do different things. I want to start my own podcast. I'll be interviewing you someday for mine. You know, I want to start my own podcast. I want to grow, you know, I want to build a community on different social media channels. So obviously that is something that is there. Secondly, I'm really looking forward to doing my master's.
Oh, nice. Here or abroad?
I think I'm keeping my options open.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, definitely abroad. Abroad is it is on my mind. I won't deny that. But I'd love to explore the options here as well in India. There are so many amazing universities.
Why do you want to do your masters, by the way? I mean, just to cut you short.
I think more than anything, it's because I want to gain knowledge.
Really?
Yeah. I want to keep learning.
Damn. Okay.
And also, I'll be honest with you, I feel like, in my 3 years of college, because 1.5 years was online, I feel like I've...
Can I take this as the actual statement
no,
of truth?
not. It's a very big part of it, 100%, But also, I don't know. I just feel like I also come from probably that mindset and that background where, I've learned that, yeah, it is important. See, I'm not saying you can't succeed without, that you won't succeed if you've not done your master's. There are so many, like Raj Shamani, he is doing so well, right? Like, I'm just putting out examples that are coming to my head, Aisa nahi hai, but I feel like, yeah, I think it can help me and it can help me learn. And also, I feel like, yeah, I'm young. And, a lot of people have sort of put me on this pedestal that you know everything, but I don't. I don't. I am also learning myself. I'm also making mistakes. I've probably said a few things that I might, like 1 year later when I hear this podcast, I'll be like, what was I saying? Like, that's so immature,
But that's growth anyway.
That is growth anyway, right? So basically, my point is that I think the reason I want to again do my master's is because I want to keep learning, I want to keep growing, and I feel like I want to experience things that can probably teach me so much or can, show me a new different world.
Makes sense. Dude, I was just about to end the podcast, but because you picked the masters and abroad subject, I'm going to take another 5 minutes of your time.
Please go ahead.
Now here's one thing. I don't know if you know, but I did my master's abroad too.
Okay.
And I did an entrepreneurship in Ireland at this place called University of Limerick.
Yes.
Now, I meet a lot of students who want to go abroad. Now this could be very specific to you as an individual and also very general to the larger mass, right? I feel sometimes going abroad is glorified way too much.
It is.
It is ridiculously...
It is because there are people who want to go abroad just for the kick of it.
Yeah, everybody watches Ye Jawani Ye Deewane. Aha, bunny. I'm gonna go.
I'm my bunny.
Yeah, I'm gonna go roam the world. What's Aditi? Yeah, I'm gonna go find Aditi is her name, no? Deepika Padukone.
No, that's Naina.
Naina, so okay,
Yeah.
shit. Aditi is the
The friend, yeah, Kalki, yeah.
So everybody thinks they can go find their Naina or they can go find their true calling going abroad. But very, very parallelly contrary to that, dude, it's the most loneliest road you can fucking travel.
It is difficult.
I can put my entire life savings on fucking in front of me and say I could take a debate, because I'll give you an example. Number one, if you want to go abroad, you cannot stay, if you're in New York, you can't stay in the center of New York at, Madison Square Garden or, near the Empire State Building. Because you can't afford the fucking
It's
rent.
so expensive, yeah.
So if you have to go to New York, you have to stay in New Jersey, a suburb there.
Yes.
Catch 2 trains, then go somewhere else. Then you still got to come cook 3 meals a day or choose to eat outside. Considering you're Indian, you'd still prefer a home cooked meal. Because their outside food is completely expensive or it's different. You got to also wash your own
yeah, and so
commode.
many people... You don't see all of that. See, I think I also come from that background where I know that this happens and that this is there. I think that's why I still feel like there's just so much to think about before you go abroad. Forget the finances bit, even just, it's not easy. It's difficult.
It is.
And I think since you said that you've actually gone abroad, and in Europe probably, I think you said you went to Ireland. So how difficult and how lonely it can get.
Dude, lonely is an understatement. It's an understatement. I remember in December, Christmas holidays, usually Christmas is the biggest festival in the world.
Yeah.
So everybody, university takes a 2-week off and it starts snowing, okay? All my roommates, and I had generously decided that I'll have Irish roommates and not Indian because, why? Fuck Indian. But so when I had these guys, everybody went back home. And because it started snowing, Ireland is not used to snow, so you can't go outside frequently because the roads are clogged. For 14 days, I've stayed at home and not met a single soul.
That's like doing quarantine
before
it was even a thing.
Exactly. And I was losing my fucking shit. Like, there's nobody even there with me at home. I have to do my own cooking. It
Yeah.
was really
When you,
lonely.
like, I don't think people realize, at least in our country, or at least, like, probably I'm saying this for myself, that, even when you're at home and you're looking out of the window, you see, like, there are people walking around,
Yeah.
there's so much happening. And sometimes when you go abroad, again, I'm just speaking from, because, like, I haven't studied abroad, but I'm just speaking from experience, from, like, what you said, not from experience, sorry, from, what I've heard, what I've read, and people I've
Examples.
spoken to, from examples, that it is lonely and it is difficult. So you really need to be sure. See, this is why even now, when I was talking about my masters, I said that I'm still figuring it out, because I want to make sure that I've taken everything into consideration. I want to make sure that I've looked at every aspect, because another 4-5 year plan definitely also involves becoming an entrepreneur and working on a project of my own.
Makes sense. Makes sense, dude.
So you want to take everything into consideration. You
Yeah.
want to keep a track of everything. And yes, as human beings, you can do everything. It's not like, we all hear these quotes that there's nothing that you can't do. You can do everything, but at a given point, you can focus on growing only one thing or one or two things, and that's a fact.
I mean, it's humanly impossible to invest in so many things and then expect yourself to grow.
Exactly. So I feel like it's very important to take calculative decisions, to talk to people, don't just see the good.
Yeah.
Learn to accept and talk to people who can give you a real picture. That's why, I always tell people, even people who ask me, do you think I should go abroad? Or do you think I should study? Forget abroad. Do you think I should study at X college over here in Mumbai? Or do you think I should study at Y college? I always say, I will tell you what I've heard, and I can tell you, and I can tell you what's given on Google. Like, these are the ratings, right? But what goes on inside that college or inside that institute is only something that an alumni or a student studying there can tell you. So go to your LinkedIn, look for people who you can approach, talk to them.
I mean, I really like the way you just put out points that people could use to do their research.
Yes. See, this is where the research comes in.
And I think the other way to also do it, like some of the things that I figured out, and guys, so this is something that I think I want to share with you and want to know your thought. For example, if you're going abroad, think about it this way. You want to do a startup, and usually for a startup, until you come from a very rich family, you don't have the money, so you usually borrow money or you do it on a loan. Let's say you want to go abroad, you also have to borrow money to go there.
Yeah.
So your startup process is eventually delayed by at least 2 plus 3 years, 5 years. So are you ready to lose those 5 years to have a startup 5 years from now?
Exactly. So take everything into consideration. Think about it. Don't just make a rash decision. I think that is another reason why, for me as well, and for a lot of my friends also. Again, I think I'm speaking from a background of where I've seen my friends also. A lot of my friends also probably take a gap year. A lot of people around me, a lot of my peers, where they're like, okay, you know what, I just want to take this 1 year. I've graduated. Okay, I have a job in my hand. I'm doing a job, but I want to take this 1 year to just figure it all out.
That's in fact the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because that space you get is to breathe. Fuck everything. You breathe.
And also, you breathe, and you also understand. Like, I was talking to a friend the other day, and she's like, I've always been like, I want to go. But first, I need to understand, how is that course, or how is that learning, or how is that experience going to really benefit me?
Correct.
And you get all of this knowledge, and you get all of these thoughts and understandings only after you give yourself time.
100%, man. 100%. And that experience, right? That gap is what gives you that clarity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you ask me about the same thing. Like 2017, I left to Ireland. I came back 2018, finished my 1 year course, and I came back. However, if you ask me, would I go back and still do it? I'd say no. The reason is, even though I got a scholarship of 30%, even though I did quite well there, I gained so many friends and experiences. Today, I want to become one of the best possible speakers in front of camera and on stage. Rather than spending 15 lakhs.
Or more sometimes, yeah.
I would have taken that 15 lakhs and hired the world's best public speaking coach to fucking rip me apart for 1.5 years. Do it. And now, my goal is so specific that I myself become terrific. Like, I move towards that, right? So thoughts like this come into my head. Then I think, what should I have done? Because that craving to go abroad, experiencing freedom, walking down at 4 a.m. and your mom not calling you, all those things you want, na? So I said, maybe I should have gone for a summer school. 2 months program. Just go for a 2 months program.
Exactly.
Investment is low of time, energy and space. Go. Do a summer school program. Add to your resume. see if you like it.
Yeah.
Then
Fair
go
enough.
then go do it. I mean, I'm saying this because I was so intrigued when you said abroad, and I usually haven't spoken about this in my podcast, but
Yeah.
I just thought
No,
I
I'm so glad you shared this as well,
yeah.
because I think that is the reality. And that's why even now on my page also when people ask me, are you going to go abroad? What's your plan? What's this? I don't like answering those questions because I'm just like, see, I'm still figuring out a
Yeah.
lot of things in my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
So, even when you ask me my 4 to 5 year plan, okay, I'll say 3 things right now. But 6 months later, I'll be like, no, I don't want to do this because I've given myself time. If you
Correct.
don't give yourself time and if you're constantly in that rat race, then you're not going to be able to do it.
You'll have to evolve. Your value systems also change over
Yes,
time. So
yes.
yeah, man, makes sense.
Absolutely. This is crazy.
Man, Miti, thank you so much for coming on my show. It's incredible.
for
And I
having
think
me.
I see a lot of synergy here.
Yes,
And
for sure.
looking forward to all sorts of collaborations.
Yeah, we have to connect more.
We have to connect more. And man, I'm so happy to see what you're doing. And I can just imagine, like, my 5 to 6 year question for you would be, I don't even think you should go abroad. I think by then you would have your own startup. You would have $100 million in investment or some shit like that. Why do you want to go abroad now, dude? Until it's for like a specified trip,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I wish all that level of success come your way.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you one more time for coming on my show.
And thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here.
Yes.
Let's do this again.
For sure. I will see you. And thank you for
What's
going
it-
through this entire conversation.